You're listening to Thunderquack Podcast Network. This is the Thunderquack Podcast, the official podcast of Thunderquack Podcast Network, where anything can happen. So strap yourselves in and hold on to your butts. It's Thunderquack time!
Hello and welcome back to the Thunderquack Podcast, the official podcast of thunderquack.com, which you can get early every Tuesday over at patreon.com/thunderquack, just like our Patreon producers, Brian Muriowski and JJ Samuel do, or you can wait and get it late every Friday on podcast services across the galaxy. I am one of your hosts, Michael Cohen.
And I'm your other host, Amanda Conkin.
Welcome. I give the non-Patreon people a hard time a lot. But I'm gonna throw this out there. Some people, they don't got the buck, and that's fine. It's cool. Here's one way that you can support us that's not through Patreon, which is to go to iTunes or whatever podcatcher or whatever that you're using and leave a rating and a review. We don't have a lot of ratings on the Thunderquack Podcast. We do on the other ones, but the Thunderquack Podcast is a bit more of a weird niche audience. It's like niches within niches. It's like a Russian doll of niches. So like, do us a favor, go leave a review. Ratings are good, but the written reviews are really good for the algorithm. And people actually sometimes find them useful in determining whether or not they're going to listen to a podcast. So if you don't have the $1 or $5 or $10, then that is one way that you can definitely support us. That doesn't cost you anything. So
I actually totally had really good service last weekend and asked the server how we could help. And she said, write a Google review. And I was like, oh, all right. Like, that's fair. Because it's so true. Like, people, like, there's been a couple things where, like, I've been trying to get sponsorship. I tried to get sponsorship for this thing a while ago, and they were like, you know what? We don't care about credit in your film. We care about everybody writing us a Google review. And I was like, oh, okay.
There you go.
So, yeah.
You know what? It's really difficult to get people to write positive reviews. People will write negative reviews at the drop of a hat, but it's very difficult to get people to write positive reviews because human beings are by nature awful. Just horrendous.
Yeah,
we do the wrong thing by default. We
also just need to sometimes shout into the void, and the void happens to be review websites.
Yeah,
I feel like that's
or like Twitter, or like oh, I can't believe that I got this service. It's like, settle down, settle down. Amazon shipped you a thing. You're killing the planet by buying it. You're not a hero. All right, knock it off.
Fair.
We have a very focused episode tonight, I think.
I'm very excited.
We had a very unfocused. We had a very, very unfocused beginning of our recording session when we did our uncut thing. So I just said, you don't need to support us monetarily, but I am also going to say, hot on the heels of that, this one is going to be worth it for the uncut because I think it might actually clock in as longer than the actual episode because we're super focused tonight. And we're going to talk.
You're jinxing it. You can't say that we're super focused in podcasting.
No, we are.
We tangent.
We have nothing else. We have nothing else to get into right now because of everything that we just talked about already. I have no other media to talk about. I have two pieces of media to talk about. One that you brought up a couple weeks ago, that I hadn't seen yet. That I have seen. I watched The Green Knight. I don't have a ton to say about it though because. What a phenomenal movie that I didn't understand at all. And I have no ego about that. I know that it is phenomenally well made. I know that it is deep and spiritual and intellectual and philosophical and all of that stuff. And I understand the broad strokes of it, right? Like I understand.
Yep. Yeah.
these ideas of like what like is it better to be a great man than a good man? What is the cost of being a hero? Like, do you lose your soul? All of that sort of stuff. I
What
understand
is
those broad
honor?
strokes.
All of that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, what's the cost of honor? All of that stuff. There is so much nuance that I know is soaring over, under, past my head. That I need some Arthurian scholars to really school me on that one.
Oh, we need to.
I do have a few resources. I have a few friends that I'll bug about that at some point. But yeah, it what a great movie. The things that I can talk at length about on it, I won't bore everybody with. But the cinematography was
Oh yeah,
some
it's
of the
beautiful.
best
It's a
that I've
beautiful
seen in the
film.
last decade. Like the Green Knight looks and feels the way Guillermo del Toro wishes his movies felt and looked. Which
Oh,
I love Guillermo
yeah,
del
burn.
Toro, but there is a campiness to his movies that like sometimes he leans into, like Hellboy and Pacific Rim, that really works for me. But then other
Pacific Rim
times, like
Guillermo del Toro movie?
yeah, other
I
times
did
like
not know
Pan's
that.
Labyrinth, it's like like I want him to just like pull back a little bit more, just a little bit more. I still haven't Shape of Water is Guillermo del Toro as well, right? I still
Yes,
haven't
I know
watched
about
that.
that.
I'm
Oh,
pretty
really?
sure it is.
I like that one. I had no idea the Pacific Rim was Guillermo del Toro. Is it?
But yeah,
Wow. Well,
I
he's
feel like it
wow.
was very much like in his wheelhouse, but much more restrained than he would have been, which is a good and bad thing, because I also, like I said, like the Hellboy movies, Pacific Rim, like I love it. Hellboy 2 is not a great story, but when they go into that market in like the underground elf world, and it's just
I've
popular,
never been.
it's like it is George
Never been.
Lucas's dream
Never
of what he
watched it.
wanted the cantina to be, right? Like, which is
Oh.
what they were going for, is like that was like Guillermo del Toro doing the cantina from Star Wars. And it is one of the best things ever put on film, for sure. But the Green Knight, it's like it's the same aesthetic and the same tone and mood, but it's so much more restrained. And to me, that's what's so I it's admirable. It's not that it's better or worse. It's an admirable quality to a fantasy film to be restrained. It's not lame in the way that uh like a JJ Abrams sci-fi like Super 8 would be, where it's like we're just not going to show you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
We're
yeah.
we're just going to
Yeah,
you're going to
yeah.
see the sparks, but you're never going to see the monster. Um but it's like it is very much in just like a very like thoughtful, conscientious way of like grounding it while it being a completely surreal and absurd film. um but yeah, man, and Dev Patel is I
He's amazing.
I don't know,
I like him.
I don't have words to express how great his performance is. If he's not nominated for an Academy Award for this movie, I think that will be a sign of the incredible racism of
Mm.
the Academy Awards. Systemic. I don't think anybody's being
It's
overt,
not gonna
but
be surprising to anybody.
yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah, like I said, like I don't have, that's why we can't talk about it for like an hour, because I literally don't have the ability to express how I feel about the movie, because
Right. Yeah.
to me it is really, I think this is the reason why it works. I think this is the reason why it's successful as a film. I'm not talking about financially, monetarily, whatever. I'm talking about like in terms of like you set out to make a movie and you made a flippin' movie, because there is no other medium in which that story would work in the way that it does. it absolutely needs to be a motion picture. It needs all of the things that means. It needs brilliant performances from amazing actors. Joel Egerton also delivers such a weirdly understated and nuanced performance where you're like,
which one is he?
The Lord.
Oh yeah,
It's
weird.
It's such an intriguing performance, and I'm left with so many questions that I don't want the answer to. That's the nature of this movie, where it's like there's so much of it that you're like, okay, I think I understand what happened there. There's stuff that I'll actually like. I might talk to you after this because I don't want to spoil it for somebody who hasn't seen it.
That's fair.
But there
I will
are
have
things,
no more answers than you because I don't understand. I don't understand what happened in it. So
there are some things that happen where I'm like, okay, I think I understand what that was. But there are a lot of things where I am very much of the mind that like the mystery is the reason why it's compelling.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's like, this is a really weird parallel to draw, but I'm gonna draw it anyways. It actually emotionally reminds me a lot of The Big Lebowski, because there are a lot of moments in the movie The Big Lebowski before I dug deep into it to understand the metatextual narrative in The Big Lebowski, and like the references and all of that sort of thing, that like even when I didn't understand that stuff, I still connected with that.
Oh my
the
god, my phone.
the like there's like I'm gonna sound like such a pretentious douchebag.
I don't know what you're trying to say. So
No, I know exactly what I need to say in order to get my points across. It's just gonna
make you
sound
like a
so
douche.
bad.
It's okay, lean into it, buddy. It's all good.
100%. There's like a sublime absurdity in The Big Lebowski that is exactly the same in The Green Knight, where like when he gets hit over the head and has like the dream of like the he's like the musical
don't
number.
Don't ruin.
No, not in The Green Knight. In The Big Lebowski. No, you've all had your chance to see The Big Lebowski.
I've never seen The Big Lebowski.
Oh my god, Amanda!
It's like Top Gun. We should watch it. Don't ruin The Big Lebowski.
I'm not. It doesn't ruin anything. There's a musical number at one point in The Big Lebowski that is exactly what I'm talking about. It's the sort of thing that's in the trailer.
Amazing. Great.
And it, like I say, there's like a sublime absurdity to it, that where you're just like, this doesn't make any sense. It is tonally dissonant with the rest of this film, and yet there is no other context in which this could possibly make sense.
Right.
And I understand what's happening. Right? It's like and I love that type of story. I love it when the absurdity has logic, like when there's like a harmony within the chaos. It's just like it's one of the reasons why I love Community so much, because Community is off the wall crazy bananas, but it is so thematically tight at the same time that it's just like it's a juxtaposition of flavors, right? So like The Green Knight is very dark and serious, and the tone is like it's very self-serious. Like it definitely wants to be taken seriously, and then presents things that are only fantastical and ridiculous, are only like completely bananas off the wall. And it's like it's where those two things collide. It's like watching coffee and cream swirl. Like there's like a hypnotic
that's
aspect to that. Now I'm bringing up like that visual is in my mind because of the movie Pi, which is another movie that has like a sublime absurdity to it. And it's like like they're all kind of in the same, all of this whole conversation is all kind of the same thing. So it's really hard for me to sell it, but all I can do is heartily recommend it. And I paid $25 to sit by myself and watch it. And I would
Yeah.
and I would absolutely endorse it at that price. It is worth $25. And now, granted, I have a very nice big TV to watch it on. So if like, I please don't watch it on your laptop or phone if you can avoid it. If that's all you have access
Yeah,
to,
because it's like
I'm not
it's
gonna
like how I
be.
got mad at my parents for going to watch Avatar, like the blue people one in the like regular movie theater. I'm like, the
Yeah,
only reason to go watch that film is because it's 3D.
yeah.
So,
Um,
same.
yeah. I think find the best screen that you can to see it on. But do so in the safest way possible because we are still in the middle of a pandemic. Um,
And I
yeah.
really want to see the Suicide Squad. It's making me sad.
Oh my God, you haven't seen the Suicide Squad yet?
No, I haven't.
Amanda, I'm
No.
dipping into the
Yeah.
pre-roll conversation, into the uncut conversation for this one.
Okay.
You yourself said that you have made some very questionable safety decisions in the last few
Right.
weeks in the
So I should
name
just
of
go to a theater?
socialization and going out. One of those has not been to go see Suicide Squad, and that's what I'm upset about.
That's
Okay?
fair. Yeah,
Cuz
I mean,
if there's
but I
anything
definitely
that's worthwhile to be a little
to like
bit,
go
let's take a
to
little
like
bit of
go
a
out.
risk, a calculated risk.
Is a calculated risk?
Go on a
Suicide Squad in the
Wednesday
movie
night when
theater?
nobody else is going to be there at like a 9 o'clock showing or something, like a 9:40 showing. You are untethered. You have the ability to do this
Yes,
without
I
consequence.
do. I do.
So do that. Find another one of your untethered, inconsequential friends, of which you have several to choose from, that you trust, who has been vaccinated
Thanks.
and will wear their mask. I mean, inconsequential in the most enviable way
I,
possible.
yeah, I had to believe that
Yeah.
otherwise we wouldn't be friends. But I hope people
I
listening to the podcast also were like inconsequential.
yeah.
I get it. I
Um
get your essence. I
go
get it.
see the Suicide Squad.
I mean, it's not going to happen. I'm flying out like in 2 days.
Oh my
And
God.
I'm like I'm going to be like the thing that is making me really really upset is that I don't think I'm going to get to see Shang-Chi until like September 13th. Because I mean, the thing that's actually really awesome is like I'm going to Boston for that first weekend and I'm actually going to see my friends that would totally go to that movie with me. But like, is that what I want to do while I'm in Boston, is go see a movie that I could see anywhere else? So I don't know. I'm gonna see if I can convince some people down there to go with me. But it's like I like, come on. I'm like risking my life to go travel to like a different. I'm like, and I mean I'm being dramatic. Obviously, I'm gonna be as safe as possible. But it's like, I don't know. Going to a movie theater just seems like I've only ever done that once. I remember with my sister in New York, we went to go see The Host, and that was great. But it's also because we went to see a lot of other things, and then we just like went to the movies one night. And I still forever like I love that movie and that book. I don't know. I know that people can judge me for this, and I think we've done whole podcasts on this. But like it was worth it. Maybe I'll go see Shang-Chi while I'm down in the States. We'll see. But anyways, I'm not gonna get to see the Suicide Squad. I'll watch the Suicide Squad when I'm back on my TV.
I fully endorse the vacation movie. I really
Yeah.
like
Oh, okay.
I really like the experience of we are somewhere else. Let's
That's
go to the
fair.
movies. But
Okay.
also I am what would be classified as a cinephile, so it's like if you ask me what I wanted to do right now, uh it's one of two things. I would like to go to a movie or play video games. That's what I want to do at any given
Fair.
moment. At
Fair.
any given moment. Like if somebody walked in and said like you have to go see a movie right now, I would be like, "Oh, okay." That's not
Fair. Fair.
I'll stop what I'm doing. I'll go see a movie.
Nice.
And it could be okay, here's a really great example. We I you guys longtime listeners will know that I was very down on the idea of a Venom film outside of the continuity of Spider-Man the character.
Yeah.
I thought that
Yeah,
that
it's
idea
been hilarious to watch you change your mind on this.
I
It's
thought that
great.
idea was the stupidest thing I'd ever heard, and I was frankly offended at the notion. But my boss at the time was very fond of we have finished a project, let's go to the movies. So we had finished a project, we had launched a new product, so the UX and dev teams are we're gonna go to the movie. And what just came out? Venom just came out. Let's go see Venom. And I was like, cool, I'm gonna have so much fun tearing this movie apart while we watch it. Who wants to sit next to me while I make fun of this movie the whole time? And my coworker / friend Micah, former coworker now, but still friend Micah, was like, "Oh, I will definitely sit next to you, and we will share Twizzlers. I really miss before the pandemic." And we will eviscerate this movie. That's perfectly fine by me. Okay, cool. And then we sat down, and it was very much one of those things where it was like, oh no, I'm enjoying this. But it didn't matter. It's like, do we want to? Hey, do you want to cut out of work halfway through the day, go eat lunch on company dime, and then watch a movie? Yes. What movie? Doesn't matter. Let's go. So
yeah.
So to me, it's like I actually really like the idea of like, let's go to a different city and see what their theater is like. If I can help it, I will try and find like the best theater that they have, or like the most novel theater that they have.
Dude, when I was in Korea, I was by myself for a day while because Ryan was coming back from Tokyo, and I was like, well, I went to see him in Tokyo, and then I went to Korea, and I was like, come to Korea with me for a couple days. Anyways, while I was there by myself, I totally went to go see Doctor Strange in a 4D theater. I will never forget that. It was so unnecessary.
Exactly.
So unnecessary.
Like, I can tell you all of the movies that I've seen on vacation, right?
Yeah.
I saw
now that I'm thinking about it, yeah.
I saw The Little Rascals when I went to Penticton. The first time I went to Penticton, I saw The Little Rascals in the Penmar, which it is tragic to me that the Penmar doesn't exist anymore.
Well, yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Because even though it's a tiny little weird theater, or was, I love it. I love those types of theaters. It doesn't need to be a big screen in order to be impressive for me. I saw Mortal Kombat in the theater in Revelstoke, which, like, the theater in Revelstoke is a 1-screen movie house, and it's a balcony. Like, it's not a theater, it's a movie house, like, or a movie palace, nice. Right? So it's like the old Art Deco style, and I remember sitting in the balcony because I'd never sat in the balcony for a movie before, and watching Mortal Kombat. These flavors do not traditionally go together, but it's in my brain and I love it. Crystal and I went and saw Your Highness in Seattle when we went down to Seattle once. I'm trying to think what else have I seen on vacation. I mean, like, we used to drive down to Bellingham every year to do Christmas shopping, which is like just across the border. It's the nearest city from Vancouver when you cross the border. Go to the Bellows Fair shopping mall, and there's a theater in the Bellows Fair shopping mall. So I can remember every movie that I'd seen at that theater, which, like, Back to the Future 2, Home Alone,
dude,
Mighty Ducks 2, not at that theater, but in Bellingham at the other theater.
In Bellingham. Nice.
Yeah. I love those experiences.
Shape of Water in Mexico, and the problem with watching Shape of Water in Mexico is that there is some parts of the movie that are not in English, and so they got translated into Spanish, but the parts of the movie that were not in English were in Russian, and my dad speaks Russian, so we were trying to, like, ask my dad what they were saying, but he couldn't quite like, while we're in the movie theater, like, that's not how his brain works. He couldn't, like, translate for us over there. There's like a whole chunk of the movie that, like, I just have no idea what happened because it was in Russian.
That's awesome.
But yes. Now I'm remembering. This is so funny. I, like, didn't think that I went to go see movies while I was on vacation, but now I'm, like, recalling as we're sitting here that I'm like, maybe it is something that I do.
Go see Shang-Chi while you're on vacation.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, Amanda. Here's the thing. You are gonna regret it if the movie gets spoiled for you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You will regret it. You will say to yourself, I should have gone to see it. The thing is that I
always go first night that stuff comes out for Marvel. And this is one of those movies that I'm literally like, it just sucks that my flight is like at 1 o'clock in the morning, so I can't even go on the Thursday night to like see stuff because I'll be late for my flight. But I'm debating it if I should just like go with all of my suitcase like to the movie theater and like watch the movie and then leave. Anyways, it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Let's talk about a movie that most anybody can just watch right now.
Yes.
From the comfort of their own home. As long as you have a Netflix subscription. I'm sure in most regions at this point.
With a Netflix subscription.
Yeah. And that movie is I'm going to go ahead and call it right now, instant classic. He's All That. This movie, I'm going to say a lot of positive things about this movie because I had a great time watching it last night. But I'm going to start with my chief and solitary complaint.
Okay.
The fact that it features multiple actors from the original film, She's All That, but is not in continuity with She's All That, it's an affront to filmmaking.
But how do you know it's not in continuity?
Because there is nothing specifically that calls it out as in continuity, and there are two things that call it out as not in continuity. Rachel Lee Cook plays two different characters across these two films, as does Matthew Lillard, who are they're the most prominent people that are in both.
Yeah, but not necessarily. Like, do we know what her name is? Like, Rachel Lee Cook's character's name is? Oh,
yes.
Really? Oh.
On IMDb and in the film, she is credited as Anna Sawyer, as opposed to being Lainey Boggs in the original film. And
here's the thing too, though.
Matthew Lillard is Brock Hudson in the original, which is an absolutely ridiculous name, and he's just Principal Bosch in the new one.
Okay. But I will say, so here's the thing. She's the Man. Nope. She's All That.
Yeah, we're not talking about your favorite movie of all time, She's the Man.
I love She's the Man.
I know. It comes up way more often than it should. Continue. She's All That.
Is like, it is a classic from like my childhood. And
100%.
But when I kept getting advertisements for He's the Man, I was like, I don't want to watch this movie.
He's All That. Yep.
He's what did I say? He's the Man.
You said He's the Man.
Oh no, I'm sorry. That's going to happen many times. Somebody keep track and tweet at me how many times I do that on this podcast. Anywho.
It's 2 already. That's the running count already is twice.
Yes, okay. So He's All That. I was like, I don't want to watch this movie. Like, this is just like taking something from my childhood and like making it like a lesser version of it or whatever. But then it showed up and it was Saturday morning. And as I'm wont to do, I turned on the television and Netflix, like, it never really steers me wrong with the like, where it's like, you want to watch this at this particular point in time. And it did that on Saturday. In the morning, it decided that I wanted to watch He's All That. Oh, I almost did it again. And then I turned it off after I was done, and then I went to do something else. Then I came back, and then it advertised to me the Korean drama that just started. And I was like, yes, I do want to watch that as well. So they're really good with their recommendations. So I just watched it. I didn't like it when they were like advertising it to me, but when I turned it on and they were like, this is the thing that you should watch. And I was like, sure, I got nothing better to do. It's a Saturday morning. And I am inconsequential, as Mike may say. So I didn't have anything else to do.
Yep.
But the thing that really got me was when we got to Matthew Lillard. And it was good enough that I had to tweet about it. Because what I didn't realize is the absurdity of She's All That and how it got called out in the movie. So I will say that my thing for this movie that I really love is how much it highlighted the absurdity of the original movie, but in like a fun way. Like I didn't realize, like, I don't know, if people haven't seen She's All That, do yourself a favor and go watch it. But there is a dance sequence at the prom. And I remember when we were watching it, like, as youngins or whatever, that it just was, it was just a dance that happened. But It was very much because it was Usher. And that was like a feature of like it was like Usher was like a guest star in this film, right? And he was the DJ and it was like I don't know. But then they call it out. Like, if they didn't call it out so much in this movie, I wouldn't have recognized how absurd it was in the original. But like that's what I love about sequels or like new movies is like what it allows you to reflect on from the original movie. But also you don't have to have watched She's All That to enjoy He's All That.
No, you don't. There is actually a third film in this non-connected and unofficial franchise, and that's Not Another Teen Movie, right?
Oh, okay.
Because Not Another Teen Movie, the main storyline of Not Another Teen Movie is not even a parody. I love this because it's both the original Scary Movie and Not Another Teen Movie. They are not actually parodies. There are parodies within those movies, but movies themselves
actually are movies.
They're actually just worse versions of the movie that they are quote unquote parodying. Like Scary Movie is just a worse version of Scream. Like it's just a less intelligent version. But
it's like less scary, which I also enjoy because I don't like being scared.
And Not Another Teen Movie is very much like the core story of it is very much a bad version of She's All That. Although it has one very important advantage, which is that it's Chris Evans. So
oh wait, he's in Not Another Teen Movie?
Yeah, he's the Freddie Prinze Jr. character in Not Another Teen Movie.
Is that the whipped cream where he wears the whipped cream bikini?
Does he in that
Or is
one?
that because there is definitely a parody movie in which Chris Evans mocks the scene in Varsity Blues.
Yeah, well that would be it.
And if people have it, that would be it. But like
I always
Varsity Blues or that movie.
I always remember and it's a meme now, where he walks up and he looks at it's like the student of the year, like most handsome or whatever, and he like it's a picture of him and he looks at it and he just smiles and keeps walking. And now it's like whenever you see the GIF now, it's almost always the America's ass.
Like yes,
it's just him walking up and admiring Captain America's butt and smiling and walking away.
I now have to see. It's got to be Chris Evans whipped cream bikini. I've got to. And did you watch Varsity Blues?
I have never seen Varsity Blues. I have actually never seen She's All That from start to finish.
Whoa!
I've never. It's one of those because of the time period from which it came out. Look, She's All That is 1999. It is May of 1999. I'm sorry, but if I'm going to the movie theater in May of 1999, it is to see one of two movies. It is either The Matrix for the third or fourth time, or it's The Phantom Menace for the second or third time. And then when you get into June or July, I think it's June, Tarzan comes out.
I think I had it.
Why
on
would
DVD,
I see any other movies that summer?
I don't think I saw it in theaters. I think I just watched it. I just had the DVD.
Yeah. So I have absolutely seen all of She's All That, but I have never sat and watched the movie from start to finish.
Gotcha.
For sure, I have never sat and watched the movie from start to finish. And Not Another Teen Movie is similar. I've never sat and watched Not Another Teen Movie from start to finish, but I have seen all of that movie. And so those two films are actually just one movie in my brain for the most part.
Yeah.
So it's
fair.
So the ridiculousness of them stopping in the middle of the prom to have a dance off or whatever is like, yeah, this makes sense. Because She's All That is a parody. The deepest connective tissue I have to She's All That, and again, longtime listeners have probably already heard this story, but in the lineup for the midnight premiere of The Phantom Menace, in a line shoulder to shoulder with however many people fit into that theater. So I don't know, how many people do you think fit into the biggest screen at the Penmar?
150?
150? That's probably, that would be my guess as well, right? So shoulder to shoulder in a lineup with 150 people all waiting to get in. No assigned seating. It's 1999.
Yeah, you have to
how
wait.
Would you even do that?
Oh man, remember those days?
They didn't even have a computer. It was a cash register.
I know.
Like it.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the sound that it makes. It's just like
it's just
I love
like it. No, I love
making
it.
noises, and you're like, I guess I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
this is one of the best jokes I've ever made in my entire life. And it just came out. It was like it was a moment of inspiration. It was as if one of the muses came down and spoke it into my ear, and then it came out my mouth. And because I'm standing with my friend Jeremy, and we're being goofs because we've been in a lineup since like 3:00 that afternoon. No, actually earlier. We skipped the last couple of classes. I think we left at lunch or something like that. But we've been in this line in the sun for a very long time with not a lot of food and a lot of sugar. And I just yell out as loud as I can, "Wait a second, you mean this isn't the line for She's All That?" And like 3 people chuckled, and it's a joke that I have been retelling my entire life.
All right.
Yeah. Because I was standing next, we're in the lineup for the Phantom Menace, and there's 4 posters in front of the Penmar. You know this, Amanda. I know you know this.
Yes, I 100%. Yes.
Picture it in your mind, right? Whatever boring adult movies, there's 2 of them. There's Star Wars, and then there's She's All That, and we're standing next to the poster for She's All That. And that's when I was hit by this inspiration. I think they had come out and like announced like, "Oh, we're going to be letting you in in a few minutes." There's like a hanging sign that was like, "This is the lineup for Phantom Menace." Nothing will ever compare with that night, by the way. The Phantom Menace. It's never been captured. All of the other midnight premieres, early showings. I really miss midnight premieres. I hate that it's now like
it was the best thing ever Thursday. When they were like, "It doesn't, just put it out on the Thursday." No. Like, come on, it makes so much. But no, I get what you mean though, and that I went to one of the Star Wars like late at night, and I don't know, it is good. Hey, the female lead against Chris Evans in Not Another Teen Movie is the Meredith Grey's sister in Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
I feel like I should rewatch Not Another Teen Movie.
Oh my god, her name is on the tip of my tongue, but whatever.
It's Chyler Leigh.
Kyler.
It's Kyler. Yeah. That is Chyler. How was I supposed to know that that's pronounced Kyler? Make me sound like an idiot.
Sorry. That's your problem, not mine. I can't control what makes you feel like an idiot, Amanda.
No, you going, "It's Kyler." And I'm like, how am I supposed to know
Kyler.
It's Kyler?
Oh, that's her name. That's her name. It's not my fault that you don't know that. And
how many times have I talked about Fired Up on the podcast too, though? Because Eric Christian Olsen is also in this movie, and he's like, Fired Up is the best.
Sorry, in which one? Which one of the movies are you talking about?
Not Another Teen Movie.
Oh, okay. We're talking about Not
Another Teen Movie. No, I moved on from talking about She's All That, because that has like actual people in it. Like that's Freddie Prinze Jr. and Paul Walker, man. Like, come on.
Now, I mean, obviously, Paul Walker cannot be in
Kieran Culkin.
And Kieran Culkin.
Kieran Culkin.
It's got everybody. Lil Kim's in it. Gabrielle Union. Like, this movie is.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Kevin Pollak is in it. Like, this movie is stacked. She's All That is a classic. Even though I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say it is not a good movie, but it is a good movie. Yeah. It's a good bad movie, right?
Also, the cover is so fun. It's purple and orange, and there aren't a lot of movies that the covers are like bright, vibrant colors like that. It's just so like, I don't know. I feel like
I want to know desperately why Freddie Prinze Jr. is not in He's All That. I also
stopped acting.
No, he's actually on the reboot of not reboot. It's like a continuation revival, whatever of Punky Brewster.
Maybe he was filming Punky Brewster.
So he's
Anna
on that.
Paquin.
But
I forgot Anna Paquin's also in this movie.
Both movies are written by the same person. So both She's All That and He's All That are written by R. Lee Fleming Jr. I'm going to open up this person. I'm going to go ahead and assume that this is a man. It is. Even though it was initials.
I forgot that it's based on Pygmalion too, which is basically just My Fair Lady.
Yes.
I always forget that too. Maybe that's why they brought My Fair Lady onto Netflix, because they keep advertising My Fair Lady to me, and I'm like, I've already seen this. I'm not going to rewatch My Fair Lady, but now I might, because I forgot that it's like
the reverse adaptation of She's the Man. She's all that.
Still counts. That still counts as one. Mark it down.
I caught it.
So hey, what else has R. Lee Fleming Jr. written? Hey, let's see. So something called Mego. I have no idea what that is. TV series.
Get over it.
One episode of Two of a Kind. She's All That. The movie Get Over It. A couple of episodes of Friends. The MTV Movie Awards in 2002. A bunch of One Tree Hill. I guess writer 3 episodes of One Tree Hill. Credited for something else in 2006. I don't know what that is. The Lying Game, All Night, Light as a Feather, Childhood Thoughts, which was a TV series. What? Mila Kunis? The episode is Mila Kunis? I am really confused by that.
What are you looking at? Because
I'm looking at IMDb.
Very different. I'm looking at something very different. What is it? What is it that you just flagged?
These are all the written by credits. Filmography for R. Lee Fleming Jr.
Yes, I know. What was the one that you just said?
Childhood Thoughts, TV series, characters, 1 episode, and then underneath it says Mila Kunis 2020, and then characters in bracket. I don't understand what this is saying.
Yeah, it's weird. He's a character maybe in something. This is all very. Anyways.
No, look, the episode is titled Mila Kunis.
Some people just, are known for. Anyways, people can look up this person on IMDb. It's messed up.
And the point of all of that is that like this guy has not written anything. He's written some very high profile stuff.
He wrote 2 teen movies in the 1990s, 2000s.
And a bunch of a few episodes of One Tree Hill and a couple episodes of Friends. But you cannot convince me. The only person who could convince me of this is R. Lee Fleming Jr. himself, that the first draft of this movie was not a direct sequel to She's All That.
Oh, of course it would have been.
And that Freddie Prinze Jr. and Rachel Lee Cook would have been the parents of the protagonist, who ends up being Paget Sawyer, but who knows what they were named in that
I mean, that would have
first
been
draft.
Yeah. That's how the movie should be, to be honest.
It absolutely is. And Matthew Lillard should be Brock Hudson as the principal of the school, because, correct me if I'm wrong, he was a juvenile delinquent type teen movie character in the first one, right? So it would have been a very good joke for him. It still is a good joke that he's the principal.
He wasn't actually a juvenile delinquent. That was actually the shtick, was that he was like a star of The Real World or whatever, and a little bit older than them, and so he was too cool.
But yeah, anyways, this should have been, I guarantee that when this started in development, it was a direct continuation. Direct continuation, 20 years later. But when Freddie Prinze Jr. was like, I'm not doing that, probably because he read the script and went, I don't need to do this. Therefore,
but it's fun. Everybody's rebooting stuff now, and it would have been fun to have him in it as well. But it's, you know what? It's still a fun movie. And here, if we're getting into our like things that I kind of liked about it, was the diversity in the men that I thought was interesting. Mm-hmm. Like the and actually the women, like they were very body positive in like who they featured as like the secondary characters, which I think is kind of cool. Also the lead girl is like,
I think that the movie in general, and this is one of the things that I like the most about it, I think the movie in general was very conscious of those decisions. And it was conscious without being preachy. It was conscious without being overt. It's never said that the lead character, that Paget, is not as thin and like model like as some of these other girls. It's never explicitly said, right? But it absolutely was a choice, because when you're casting a movie, you can cast someone that looks however you want. And so for a movie like this, it can only be a conscious choice to not in 2021 we're a little bit more evolved, but even still, you look at the majority of movies that get made, especially movies with this type of subject matter, and you immediately get the skinniest, most like, model pretty girl, and then you put a pair of glasses on her to make her seem like she's a little bit less than that. um which is funny because that's the trope in the first movie, right? I but they didn't. They cast a girl, woman with a very like, we don't want to use the word normal, right? But like with a very sort of average body type, I would say. Like she's very pretty. It's not
Yeah.
like they were like, oh, I don't know how to say this, but you know what I'm getting at, right?
Twiglet?
Is that like
Yes,
she
I get
looks
I get what you mean.
she looks like an actual person and not a movie star, right? And they surround the lead characters with all of these other characters that are like the main cast is not just a bunch of white people. They're the three leads are all white.
White. Yes. They
But
are.
his best friend is Indian, right? And her friends are I don't know. I don't want to play
Ethnicities
the
other than white.
I don't want to play
Yes.
the game of like
Yeah.
calling out everybody's ethnicity,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and the two best friends, his best friend that's a girl, and her best friend that's a girl, end up together by the end of the movie, and
That's the best part.
it's
It's just like
never
a
like a
thing.
thing.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
something
yeah.
that happens, and it's like, and
Yeah.
and it's a thing that happens like very organically in the movie, of like they're put into a scenario where they meet each other and there's chemistry, and you're like, oh, that's cute. It's literally, it's a meet cute, right? Like I said
Yeah,
that
yeah.
to Crystal. I was like, oh, they're together by the end of this movie. There's no way they're not.
Yeah.
And
Because they're
you get
both
to
dressed as
prom, and
the
they went to
same
prom
obscure
together.
character. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good. It's good.
Um
They're-
but yeah, like I do feel like they went out of their way to speak to the thematic content of the movie by casting the net a little bit wider in casting these roles, and not just doing what She's All That did, which is to make you believe that everybody that goes to high school is beautiful and belongs on a CW
If only
teen
they
drama.
put contact lenses in.
Yeah, exactly. Because when we go down the list in She's All That, it's like the leads are all incredibly beautiful human beings. Like we're talking about some exceptional humans, right? Like,
Yeah.
whereas I feel like everybody in He's All That they're rich kids, so they all like dress really nicely and blah blah blah. And it's
Yeah.
like when Tanner Buchanan first shows up, and they've got him in an awful wig, and they've put pimple makeup on him, and they've just basically like taken eyeshadow and just smeared it underneath his eyes. You're not fooling anybody. It's no different than Rachel E. Cook at the beginning of She's All That, where you're like,
He's all right looking with it. I actually kind of liked him better with the long hair than when
of
they cut
course
his hair
you
off.
did.
I'm like,
Amanda, once again, what
okay.
you consider to be attractive is not necessarily
Not what everybody
what we
else
consider
does.
mainstream attractiveness.
That's fair.
You've been fighting the Adam Driver fight since day one, and that puts you in a different category. You need to accept this.
Okay.
You are in a different category. We all got there with you eventually. Don't get me wrong.
Eventually, it just took so long.
But like, yeah, it is definitely like Adam Driver's face is definitely one of those ones that you have to learn to love.
But it's one of the best vindications of my entire life.
Yeah.
That I shipped them from day one.
Oh, for
I
sure.
don't understand.
You deserve it.
It was so great. It was just so it's just like the one of my life achievements.
You deserve it, but you deserve it because you were right about something that was wrong. Okay?
That's
like
fair.
that's the thing is that by all accounts, what? He's the bad guy. And also look at him. And look at Daisy Ridley. And yet by the end of those movies, and I mean, like, I think that Rian Johnson really did the heavy lifting for us normal people and brought us into the weird world. And made it possible for us to look at Adam Driver and go, oh no, yeah, oh, okay. All right. They're touching hands.
Holy shirt Ben
their
with
fingers are touching.
Holy shirt Ben with a blue saber, man. It's beautiful.
We get there by the end of it. It is one of the few things that Rise of Skywalker manages to pull off. And only by the grace of Adam Driver is that achieved.
100%.
There are very few other actors that could have gotten us there with such saying paper thin is the most egregious understatement that I could make, because the plot of The Rise of Skywalker is you would need an electron microscope to measure the thickness of the plot of The Rise of Skywalker. It makes
so much shade.
No sense. And you guys know this. We don't need to get into it. All I have to do is say dagger, and everybody is on board. Even people who are like, I like that movie.
I have blocked that part of the movie completely out of my brain. Not until you just said it.
It is the one thing that like, no matter, I can end the conversation no matter what avenue we're on. It's like anybody from any perspective of like, if we're agreeing that it's a bad movie or somebody's trying to tell me that it's great and the plot is fantastic and makes sense, all I have to do is say dagger and it's done. And it's done because it's like, because what are you gonna say to me that the dagger makes any kind of sense? That Palpatine was like, hey Ochi, you know my Sith Wayfinders? You know my Sith Wayfinders that to get to Exegol, because you know about Exegol for some reason. Vader doesn't. Actually, we're gonna retcon that with a comic later, but don't worry about it. But to get to Exegol, you need a Sith Wayfinder, and I totally left one on the Death Star. I mean, like, I didn't leave it there. I got thrown into the reactor shaft, so it was kind of against my will. But it is there. It's one of, there are only two of them, and I know where both of them are. But we're going to leave them. Should we leave them there? I don't know. Go get my Sith Wayfinder so that the Jedi can't get to Exegol and stop me. And Ochi was like, I have Ochi of Bestoon, by the way, in case it was unclear. In case you were thinking of a different Ochi. We're talking specifically about Ochi of Bestoon.
Until that moment.
One of my other greatest jokes of all time is Ochi of Bestoon, more like Ochi of Worstoon.
Oh no!
It's so good, delicious. It's so good because it's
that was such an egregious sound, Mike. I don't think it came across in the way.
It came across exactly like I wanted it to.
That was the best vocalization. Carry on.
It's that the quality of that joke works. Because it is a bad dad joke, but it is appropriate and works and is a great joke because that's what Ochi deserves. He no more, no less. That's exactly what he deserves. But yeah, Ochi was like, I have a much better idea. I'm going to go to Kefbir and I'm going to stand on a cliff and I'm going to carve a dagger that outlines what this looks like, because in 30 years it'll be the same. Those crashing waves won't have eroded any of that metal. It's not a structure that was going to fall down. Don't worry about that part of it. It's going to be exactly right, so that your enemies in 30 years can find the throne room and retrieve it so that they can stop you.
It's very upsetting when you explain it in this detail.
It's like a brain freeze. That's how it feels in my head.
Yes. Here, let me just
He's All That is a better written movie than The Rise of Skywalker. Because
you know what?
There are no plot holes in this movie. There aren't.
Oh my God, it so is. It's true.
It makes perfect sense. Everybody behaves in a logical fashion. They're teenagers, so there's a little bit of like you have wiggle room because teenagers are going to behave illogically. But that in mind, they behave more appropriately like teenagers than the teenagers in She's All That. Like, it is a better movie.
Yes.
It's a better written movie than the first one.
And something that I like too is that they do turn the class privilege a little bit on its head, which I really like. In that, like, neither of the two leads are wealthy, which is cool because class dynamics don't really play into the relationship between those two people, which is cool. Like, there's just a lot of things that they were able to couch the movie in the original like premise, but do it better because it's modern.
I mean, I don't know,
like modern.
I think that maybe Cameron, the one that's getting He's All Thatted, he's a little bit rich because he's got a whole room in his house dedicated to his photography.
I mean, yes,
and it's not a small room. It's not like it's a coat closet, which is all you need for a dark room, by the way.
It's the basement.
It's big enough to be somebody's bedroom for sure. It's big enough to be somebody's very nice bedroom. And it is dedicated to his photography that he doesn't share with anyone. But they do get around that by implying that grandma isn't all there. And so the kids are kind of running the house a little bit. Anyways. Again, not a plot hole. Totally accounted for and in the movie. Like the movie explains that dynamic with one line, and it's a fantastic moment. And this is a very good movie. It has no right to be a good movie. It's a direct to DVD sequel that is a remake of a not that great movie to begin with. That only exists on nostalgia. And yet it overcomes all of that and ends up being a pretty good movie, which pretty good for this context
I would say pretty
is great.
Fun. I'm going to say pretty fun. I'm not going to use the word good.
Sure.
It's a pretty fun movie.
Okay. I am actually going to take it back. There is one semi-plot hole. They try and explain it, but this is definitely movie logic. When he beats up the other dude with his kung fu moves, and it's like, I'm going to allow it because I don't know if you know this, Amanda, but Tanner Buchanan is one of the leads on Cobra Kai. So,
oh no, I totally didn't know
he's one of the leads from Cobra Kai. So when he starts doing karate, I'm like, yeah, he's a martial artist. Like, you can't make this movie and not have him do some martial arts.
They talk about him liking martial arts movies.
Yes, but
like many times.
But you cannot learn martial arts from watching Jackie Chan films. It is not possible.
No, it's not possible. But you would assume that maybe he was an aficionado because like he would have learned it as well. Like there's a lot of people that
Amanda, I am an aficionado of kung fu films. I love kung fu movies. Kung fu. If someone came at me to punch me, I would have to take that square on the jaw because I have no recourse. Okay.
That's fair.
You cannot just say that somebody watched a bunch of movies. I have seen the Star Wars films
they would go
so many times.
I mean that
I can't fight with a lightsaber.
That's not what I mean. I mean that sometimes when you like something, you then go study it. In the same way that I like Korean dramas and I started learning Korean. So it's like...
But what you've just defined is a plot hole, Amanda, because that is not... that you have two pieces of plot. You have the one time in the movie... two times in the movie, because this is one of the times in the movie that it gets mentioned that he likes kung fu movies. But there's one time in the movie where they mention that he likes kung fu movies, and then you get to the point in the movie where he knows kung fu. The gap, the distance between those two that's a hole. that the movie doesn't explicitly cover.
That's fair.
It's like when he shows up at the end of the movie on a horse, that was established early in the movie that he works with horses and that she calls him a horse girl, right? Like, so we know that we know that he likes horses and that he's a horse boy. And so when he shows up on a horse at the end of the movie, literally to ride up and get off the horse, it's like,
it's great though that does not become a plot hole because they show the horse like trailer.
And the sister.
That's the best part of the movie, where it's like he didn't ride all the way there because
that
wouldn't have made any sense.
They do the very California thing of calling out the highway, the whatever.
They call out everything in this movie, and that's my favorite part about it, is like Matthew Lillard's character always having announcements where he goes, I don't understand it, but the committee decided this was a good idea, so I'll support it. He's constantly.
So I want to talk about Matthew Lillard for a second, because
let's do it.
I think that Matthew Lillard is one of the most underrated actors in Hollywood. I have never seen a Matthew Lillard performance where he was not giving 1,000%.
Yes.
All the time, every time, without fail. He is always there. He shows up. He's done the work, even when it's what is essentially a cameo in this film. I mean, like he does play a role, but
it's it's a cameo.
It's a cameo, right? But regardless, there are a lot of jokes in this movie that kind of waffle. They don't land 100%, but you're like, that's cute. Every single one of his jokes, a couple of which shouldn't work,
and they do
absolutely work. At the very end when he dances, it's lame. It's lame in any other context. but he nails it so hard, and he always does. And it takes me back to Scream, and at the end of the movie when he gets stabbed and and he's like having his like death moment, and he's like, I'm feeling kind of woozy, and he's got like the spittle coming out of his mouth and all of that, and it's like he goes to a place in that where it's very unflattering. It's very it's very much like, oh, I do not feel sorry for this guy who is dying, which is exactly where you need to be at the end of Scream when he dies. You need to feel that for his character. And Matthew Lillard, that early on in his career, understood the context of his role in that film to the point that he pushed that moment of his performance. And when you go back, the best thing about Scream is going back and watching it after you know what happens, right? And watching all of the
I watched Scream 2 before I watched Scream.
Oh, really?
Because I'm that kind of a person. Like,
I was more of an I Know What You Did Last Summer fan than a Scream.
I mean, 100%.
Because Sarah
I'm in
Michelle
the same
Gellar,
boat. And Freddie Prinze Jr. and Ryan Phillippe, who are just come on,
superior. Let's just get that right out of the way. Superior.
Yeah.
We don't need. It's not a debate. It's not. It's also not a competition. That's like saying that your high school swim team is competing with the Olympic swim team. They're not the same. They're not the same. Okay. Scream is great. I love Scream.
Scream is a classic, but like I Know What You Did Last Summer is like a teen movie, but that's horror-esque. And I get that Scream kind of is too, but like
this is the reason why Scary Movie can't be a proper parody is because Scream is already a meta narrative on the movie that it is. Like that's
true.
It's the Ouroboros, right? It's a snake eating its tail. Like it like Scream doesn't exist without the movies that Scream is lampooning but paying homage to at the same time, because Scream very much goes into the like, oh, these are the rules, never say I'll be right back, right? And then Matthew Lillard goes, I'll be right back, and you're like, haha, he's gonna die. No, he's not, he's the killer. Like, but if you've been paying attention, you should know that he's the killer, but he can't be the killer, because I'm pretty sure that what's his face, he's in Riverdale. I can't remember his name right now.
Skeet
Ulrich is the killer, right?
Yeah.
And like the great twist of Scream. I'm sorry if I'm ruining Scream for anybody right now, but the great
it's
twist
classic.
of Scream
you should watch it.
Is that they're both the killer, right? Like it's not one killer.
Oh no, I forgot.
You'd forgotten that?
I forgot, because again, I think I watched Scream 2, right? And I think the killer in Scream 2, isn't the killer in Scream 2 like Jerry O'Connell's character or something?
Yes, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Okay, is that?
I think so.
Is it? Okay, so that's the one I remember. But I remember Matthew Lillard being like, there's a video of his character in the second one, right? Where he like comes back to say the rules of the first one.
Yeah.
Or something.
I have seen Scream 1 probably 3 or 4 times. I've seen Scream 2 and 3 once each. See, and I still haven't seen 4.
Opposite. I'm the opposite. I've seen Scream 2 a couple times, but I think I've only seen the first Scream like one time, because I wanted to know the context for the second Scream movie.
Crystal actually in a complete antithesis to who she is as a human being, actually really likes the Scream movies. And we've talked about this on the podcast before. Halloween, October is the only time I can get her to watch scary movies, like anything horror or anything like that. And generally, it's got to be something that also has a bit of humor. It's got to be something that's horror but irreverent. She's not gonna watch Halloween, right? Like, she's not gonna watch an actual slasher like a Friday the 13th or something like that. But she will watch Scream. She'll watch Cabin in the Woods we watched last year, I think.
Oh, that's great. Scream was originally called Scary Movie, man.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you didn't are you just learning that today?
I'm learning. I'm on the Wikipedia page. Yeah. I didn't know that. And I also didn't know that it was inspired by a real life thing that was meta in and of itself. Yeah, this movie there's like, people should watch Scream, man. Because it totally is. They're like talking, like, if you read the Wikipedia page, that's totally what it is, right? Like, it revitalized the horror genre like in the 90s.
Oh yeah.
And
it brought back the teen slasher movie.
And it was like, because it was casting actors that people knew, and they're saying that it brought in a female viewership, and I was like, I am part of that. Because I would never watch, and I still haven't. Like, I hate scary movies. I hate them. But I really have an affinity for the Scream franchise and for I Know What You Did Last Summer and then Cabin of the Woods, because there's something about like the like teen bent on the like, I don't know. And oh yeah, and Happy Death Day. Obviously, we are aware that is a movie I enjoy, because it's like horror adjacent. Anyway, sorry, carry on. You were in the middle of saying something.
No. That's all part of it. You know, I will say, like, what I was gonna say about Scream versus I Know What You Did Last Summer is that Scream, it did all that stuff, right? It brought back the genre. It revitalized the slasher film, specifically with that context of the teen slasher. But then I Know What You Did Last Summer, it took that and then it I would say did it for real, but like, it didn't have the hey, this is a like, we're actually like, this is a meta narrative on the genre of movie that it lives inside of, which the Scream movies, like I said, like, that's what they are, right? Which is, it's really funny because they brought back Wes Craven to do Scream, but he had already done that story in New Nightmare, which is about like, they're making it's like a whole, they already did the meta, like, it's a horror movie within a horror movie within a horror movie sort of thing. But yeah, anyways, we should talk more about Scream. And
I forgot Liev Schreiber was in this movie too. I feel like that's where I first met Liev Schreiber. Like, I forgot about this. I feel like I should rewatch this movie now, because
let's save it. Let's save it for October.
Yeah.
That
Matthew
feels
Matthew
appropriate.
Lillard is in both, right? I feel like I don't know. Yeah, it's a pretty good twist. I don't know. It's a decent movie. Well, now it's ruined for you, but you know.
Well, people have had their opportunity.
No, he's not in the second one. I don't understand. I feel like I remember a video of him explaining stuff in this. Maybe he
is it. I don't. Maybe it's.
Oh yeah, no. He is. He has an uncredited cameo at the sorority party in Scream 2. Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
I feel like maybe that's there's something. There's something there. Anyways, enjoy. Oh, Rose McGowan. Ugh, so fun. So fun. What are we talking about on this podcast? He's the man. He's all that.
He's all that. You just did it again. Mark it down.
Okay.
But Matthew Lillard. What? The other thing is Scooby Doo, right?
Oh, that's what we were talking about. We were talking about Matthew Lillard. I was like, how did we get talking about Scream?
Because he's Shaggy in the 2 live action Scooby Doo films, but he also
and in the Supernatural episode.
He also played Shaggy for like the next 10-15 years after that.
Yeah.
In all media. So if there was like a video game or a cartoon show or like What's New Scooby-Doo, like Matthew Lillard played Shaggy in all of that stuff, because once he like had that character, he was like, of course I'll play him, right? Which I really admire about him, because most people like look down on, I'll go do voice work or whatever.
It's so cushy. People should all go do voice work. I don't know.
Like, I would do it in a heartbeat. What a great job that would be. Acting without all of the hard parts of acting. It's brilliant. Because the hard parts of acting are the sitting around on set waiting to do your job, and the having to be awake at 3 a.m. to get the, for a night shoot, whatever, right? Like, that's standing in fake rain for 4 hours at a time, right? Like, that's the stuff about acting that sucks in movies or whatever. But then, like, voice acting is like, you get to do all the fun parts of acting, which is the make-believe pretensy part and having fun with other actors with like 9 to 5 hours. It's amazing. It's really what I should have pursued when I wanted to pursue acting, but there's in the multiverse somewhere. I feel like I went down that path.
This is insane. There's so many people in this movie that are actually like known for their online presence. Like, the lead is it says, like, when you look at her Wikipedia page, it says genre vlog. Like, apparently that's like what she's known for.
He's all that.
She's a social media personality, dancer, and actress.
Well, that's that was the.
I mean, that's what it is.
That was the point.
That's what it is.
I thought you knew that, but that was like a part of the movie, is that they cast a bunch of
they hired. I didn't know that. They're all influencers. Oh wow, I'm such an idiot. No, I had no idea that was part of it.
Yeah, it was a whole thing.
Like, why are all these people known for like YouTube?
Yeah, because that's where stars are discovered now.
I'm so old.
Yeah, you are. You're out of touch.
I don't understand the TikToks.
You're out of touch.
It's so upsetting.
I only watch TikToks. I will not. I refuse.
I watch TikToks when they show up in my Facebook feed.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I watch.
You
refuse to TikTok is what you're saying?
Sorry?
You refuse to TikTok?
I will never post on TikTok. I will never ever post on TikTok. But I appreciate TikTok as a platform. I think that people are doing really cool stuff over there. But I will never post on it, because I couldn't tick or talk, certainly not both at the same time. But also I am a hair's breadth away from leaving Facebook, and as I've said on multiple occasions in the past, the only reason that doesn't happen, the only reason I don't just like, I wouldn't ever like delete my Facebook account, but like the only reason that I don't just like basically like lock it down and close it and like log out is the group. That's the only reason. The Thunderquack Patreon group is the only reason.
I mean, because they're pretty good. Hey, our praise for this movie, by the way, is not the norm. When I look at top stories, the like biggest hits are Netflix's top movie is utterly unwatchable, or something like He's All That, Netflix dull TikTok team remake lacks charm.
If you are paid to have an opinion about movies, It's not in your best interest to be effusive about anything in the first
To
place.
enjoy them. That's fair.
And certainly not about something that is not for you, because here the thing about being a professional film and television critic is that you are generally an adult in order to do that. Again, there are exceptions, but generally speaking, that's the case. This is a teen
And this
movie
movie is not for you.
So
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
yeah, like you definitely have to put yourself in the mindset. It is a direct to Netflix teen movie. And if you would just like to sit and have an enjoyable evening without a lot of heavy lifting, it is a good movie for that. And
Good
I
choice.
look, I watched The Green Knight on Saturday and He's All That on Sunday.
Nice.
Did I enjoy them to the same degree? Not on your life. No, of course not. Did I have an enjoyable evening both nights? Yes. Was I incredibly frustrated and mad at myself and confused and a little bit scared after watching The Green Knight? Of course I was. That's how you're supposed to feel after watching a grown-up movie. Did I have a sense of superiority and did I call every single plot point in the movie before it even happened? uh, uh yes, except for when the goth girl was the same. That, oh my god, what a wonderful joke that was.
So good.
So good when she rushes the stage and he's like, actually, you came in fourth. And she's like, well, I demand a recount. It's like, nope, not necessary. You lost by a lot.
By a lot.
It's so great. It is. I said to Crystal, I turned to her, I was like, so vindicated, so satisfying to see the villain just demolished like that. It was very, very nice. But yeah, but like, do I recommend both movies? Yeah, sure. In completely different contexts. Yeah. With a completely different mindset. But making a movie is hard. It's a very difficult thing. I think it's admirable that what could be a hollow, phoned in Netflix streaming only sequel
Stop disparaging. You keep being like streaming Netflix.
Well, no, but it is
everybody is like dying to get on Netflix.
Of course, but
when you say it's like a direct to DVD, it's
yeah,
sort
exactly.
Of like the essence of this movie is like direct to DVD, which is different than like there's some movies that are coming out that I'm very much looking forward to that are Netflix only releases.
Yeah, for sure.
They don't have the same direct to DVD vibes that this.
No, they're movies that should be in the theater. Look, the Netflix isn't going to campaign this one. They're not going to put it in the theater for 2 weeks so that it qualifies for the Academy Awards, right? That's a different class of Netflix movie that I don't consider a streaming only movie, because they don't stream only. They put them in the movie theater.
Right.
They put them in 2 movie theaters, one in New York and one in Los Angeles, and they only invite the critics, but it qualifies them for the Academy Awards and the Golden Globes, and that's all that matters. But yeah, this is what it is, and that's not a bad thing. Like, direct to DVD, direct to home video movies exist, and some of them are fantastic. Some of them are some of my favorite movie experiences of my life, like the great film Prehysteria, which is about a kid that finds some frozen dinosaur eggs. For some reason, he finds 5 frozen dinosaur eggs. Each one of them is from a completely different species. And hey, some of these dinosaurs lived in completely different eras of time, but whatever, we're gonna ignore that. And because they were frozen, they stay miniature. They will never get bigger than the little tiny animatronic dinosaurs that they are in the movie. And then the Tyrannosaurus Rex is on a skateboard at one point. Is it a good movie? Is Prehysteria a good movie? Not at all. Is it a wonderful, cherished childhood memory? Yes. So being a direct to DVD, directed to Blu-ray, direct to streaming, whatever, you can think of it as disparaging, but movies are
Who's
movies.
the main character? Is the lead character a woman?
What, in Prehysteria?
Prehysteria, yeah.
No, it's just a boy in the 90s with long straight hair.
All I can find is the cartoon image of this boy, but he looks like the same kid from Macaulay Culkin with the bees, and it's the second My Girl 2.
Yeah, he is definitely a direct to home video Macaulay Culkin, if that's what you're saying.
But I don't know where I mean, I guess in a roundabout way it kind of is, but I can't find out who is the main, because I can't, all of the cast that it's recommending for me, I'm like, it's definitely not any of these guys. Like,
the problem was that when you go to IMDb now, this who was a child is now an adult.
Right, exactly.
So
and
you're
the
like,
algorithms
I think
are all
it's
messed
this
up.
Austin O'Brien guy.
That name sounds right.
Okay, the reason why you have a connection, this is so funny because I'm gonna connect the dot for you. You got partway there with My Girl and Macaulay Culkin. He is the boy in My Girl 2.
No, that's what I mean. Yeah. Okay. No, that's what I said. He's the boy in My Girl 2.
Okay, I thought you were like making a connection. He's also in Last Action Hero. He's in a bunch of stuff.
No. I love, because the thing is about My Girl, and this is like, I'm sure blasphemy, but like, I very much like My Girl 2 better than My Girl, because I very much liked the boy in My Girl 2 better than I liked Macaulay Culkin. And so like, that was like the era of my.
Also, My Girl is it's not a fun movie. It's not.
Yes, it's correct. My Girl 2 was a very fun, like, coming of age movie about like this girl trying to find herself, whereas My Girl is depressing. And
My
upsetting.
Girl is a 90s movie because it every frame of the movie is almost sepia toned, right? Like it's the only colors present are brown and yellow.
Yes.
The whole movie, that's it.
Yeah,
that's it. These are the only colors that are available to a 90s movie of this type, and it's so much fun and has a great soundtrack and fun performances, except for the fact that it is going to kick you square in the I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, it's still going to kick you in the balls at the end of the movie, because little baby Macaulay Culkin is going to die from being stung to death by bees. And if that's not,
it's such a morbid movie.
If that's not bad enough, that's not where the movie ends. Nope. She shows up to the funeral and like loses it because he doesn't have his glasses. He can't see without his glasses. And
so devastating.
It's mean. It's mean spirited. It's like, hey, we're going to make you feel some emotions. Oh, okay. So this is like an emotional, heartfelt film. No, you don't understand. We're going to make you feel emotions.
Like, make them. Shove them down your throat
against your will. You will not be able to resist.
It's very devastating. It's devastating.
It's not fun.
Here's the 6 degrees of separation between the movie we're supposed to be talking about on the podcast and My Girl 2 is that guy, Austin O'Brien, is also in the Babysitters Club. He plays Logan in the Babysitters Club, and Rachel Leigh Cook plays Marianne.
There you go.
In the Babysitters Club. So
we did it.
You know, we did those 90s stars.
We connected the dots that nobody asked us to connect. Because I love the movie Prehysteria because it had dinosaurs in it and came out in 1993. There's a very specific. There's a very specific component there, which is that it came out in 1993, which is also the year that Jurassic Park came out. So every movie that came out in 1993 that has a dinosaur in it, I saw every single one.
Oh man, you know what movie I completely forgot about? Gold Digger: The Search for Bear Mountain, which has Anna Chlumsky, however you say her last name, and then Christina Ricci, and they're like these two girls that like go up and solve a mystery of Bear Mountain. I remember this movie. Oh man, the 90s were made for me. Maybe it's because I was made in the 90s. Maybe it's the other way around. But like, come on, there's just some formative stuff there.
Sorry, that 1993 rule is going to extend into 1994 because I just have to bring up and I will connect it back to She's All That, not He's All That, but to She's All That. And that is an awful, but such a great movie by the name of Tammy and the T-Rex, starring Paul Walker, who is only in about the first, I haven't watched in a long time, but I'm going to go ahead and say the first 15 minutes of the movie. And it's just his voice for the rest of it, because he is in fact murdered by a mad scientist who puts his brain into an animatronic Tyrannosaurus Rex. Boom. It's such a bad movie.
Wow.
But it's so good. It is an intentionally bad movie, by the way.
Wild America.
Denise Richards is also in it. And I'm going to spoil it because there is a happy ending to Paul Walker getting murdered and having his brain put into an animatronic dinosaur, because Denise Richards, his girlfriend, knows this, and by the end they defeat the bad guys by killing them all in very bloody fashion.
What is this weird movie?
And the end of the movie is his brain in a jar with eyeballs.
What?
And her doing a striptease for him.
Oh,
because they're still together at the end of the movie. It's a very intentionally campy sci-fi movie, sci-fi horror movie. But I was definitely not old enough to watch this film, but because the box art did not explicitly have all of the blood that the poster on IMDb shows, which I'm going to assume is from a subsequent re-release in the early 2000s, or like maybe like the early 2010s, because it's a great piece of art. It's fantastic.
This is insane.
I just saw this and just was like, I have to watch this movie because it's got a dinosaur in it, and rented it. And my parents they weren't in the room when I watched it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that he wreaks vengeance on his high school tormentors, and is reunited with his sweetheart Tammy. Yep. Come on, this movie. How does this movie exist? You know what? There is just like this, like, it's not even like this stuff wasn't mainstream. I don't think if people are like younger that are listening to this podcast, like straight up, like, I don't know, these movies we watched unironically. We have been podcasting for so long, Mike.
Yeah.
And this
2 hours
is all
and 45
nonsense.
minutes.
This is such nonsense.
This is how you know that it ends in 1994, because in the year 1995, the movie Theodore Rex, starring Whoopi Goldberg and a pretty awful animatronic man in a dinosaur costume, is not counted on my list of Jurassic Park came out, and then I watched every dinosaur movie, because I looked at Theodore Rex and went, no, I'm not going to watch that. Because it looks awful, and I'm right. It's not good.
That's your line.
But a movie that I have brought up on multiple occasions that falls into this is the movie Carnosaur, which, as I've expressed before on the podcast, is the movie that taught me where babies come from. Because a woman who is making genetically engineered dinosaurs, they gestate, they don't use eggs. It's not like, oh, we're going to use an ostrich egg and some frog DNA like Jurassic Park. She's like, no, we're going to inject it into ladies. And she injects one into herself and then gives birth to a T-Rex.
Oh my gosh, I think I'm aware of this.
Oh, you're aware of it because I've talked about it on the podcast before.
Probably.
Yeah.
Haunting.
Fantastic. Oh my God. These are things that have shaped my psyche, and I are responsible for I don't know, maybe the more deranged parts of my personality. But yeah, my parents really should have kept a closer eye on what movies I was renting. They because they had to pay for it. They had to drive me to the video store. I was only 9 years old when I rented Tammy and the T-Rex. But
this is another one of those, to go back to the throwback to the pre/post podcast, is one of those gender discrepancies. I feel like my parents were like monitored what we watched a lot more because we were impressionable young girls.
Yeah, I also had at that time
child.
I had a 5-year-old, a brother who was 5 years older than me, right? So yeah. I think that there was an expectation from my parents that he was paying attention, and he was, but he was also like, yeah, okay, let's rent Carnosaur. Like, what? I don't see a problem with this because at the time he would have been 13. So
there you go.
To him, yeah. Anyways, that's it. We did it. We talked about it. We talked about He's All That. We talked about She's All That. We talked about Scream. We talked about Tammy and the T-Rex. We talked about The Green Knight. We had a good time.
The Green Knight. Which one of these things does not belong in this podcast?
Yeah, for sure.
We start with The Green Knight.
I think
gives you a false sense of security.
I think the important context that we give by talking about The Green Knight and me being like so incredibly like awestruck at its majesty in the first part of the episode gives us the credibility to come in the second half and talk about what would probably be considered bad movies by most people and say that like, hey, it's okay to like these.
Time and a place.
Like,
exactly.
Like
them all.
Both things can be true. It's perfectly fine. You can actually like good movies and bad movies and just have a good time. And as I have said on multiple occasions in this episode, it is hard to make movies. It is difficult to just accomplish the task of filming something that can be assembled into a story that other people can digest. That action is a feat unto itself. To come out the other end with something good is impressive. To come out the other side with something amazing or exceptional is almost unheard of. The Green Knight is a movie that comes around once every like 5 or 10 years. Like it's that good of a movie, I think. It might not get respected in that way because it is a fantasy film, so people are going to be like, weird. Oh,
it's real weird.
It's very weird. But it is that good in my opinion.
Yeah.
But also at one point in time, I was of the opinion that Vanilla Sky was one of the best movies ever made. So take that with a grain of salt. The next time a teenager says something stupid about media, just remember, you, especially those of you who pay us on Patreon, you pay for the privilege to hear what I think about media. And at one point in time, Vanilla Sky was my favorite movie. All right. Vanilla Sky.
Your favorite movie?
My favorite movie. Yeah.
You're a brave man to admit that, but you know,
a lot of the decisions that I made in my senior year of high school were informed by the film Vanilla Sky. All right.
Wow. I've never seen it. Now I feel like I'm missing out on understanding a core part of who you are.
It is a movie that exists. It definitely is. And at one point in time, when I was a 17-year-old young man, 16-year-old, 17-year-old young man, and very impressionable and of undiscerning taste, I believed Cameron Crowe the line that Cameron Crowe was selling me with Vanilla Sky. Bought it hook, line, and sinker. And now as a much more mature and intelligent adult, I look at it and go, there's some cool stuff in Vanilla Sky. I like it, but it's actually a remake of another movie. And
that Penelope Cruz.
Yeah, Open Your Eyes is the original. Yeah. I mean, that's a translation of the title. It's is it Spanish? I think it's because Penelope Cruz, right? So, and that movie is a much better movie, but also not a great movie. That's it. We did it. Congratulations. You listened to this whole episode.
Did you though?
Well, I mean, like, if you did,
you're here.
If you did, I think you know what to do, and I'm not even going to say anything other than that. I think you know what to do.
It's a type of accomplishment
because I know who listened all the way through this one. I already know at least 5 people who listened all the way through.
Because when you clicked on the podcast, it would have told you how long it was. So
that's true.
You really did it to yourself.
Here's the kicker. Some of you got more. A whole other thing that's going to happen after the music. So
long.
Have fun with that. Have a good 2 weeks. What's next week? Next week is Off the Record. So I'll be back next week with Off the Record, which is the Patreon exclusive podcast. Oh my God.
I'll be in New York on vacay.
Hey.
And then we'll be back.
Do you know what I'm going to talk about next week on Off the Record? Because I know.
Is it going to be Shang-Chi?
It'll absolutely be Shang-Chi, even though we will also have an episode of Enough Said at some point in the next couple of weeks. I don't know what we're going to do with that. We'll have to figure that out. Maybe we'll do it without Amanda. We'll get somebody else who doesn't know very much about Marvel movies to... Or I shouldn't say Marvel movies.
Hey.
You know about the movies. Somebody who doesn't know very much about Marvel lore.
Comics.
Yes.
It really doesn't matter for this one. Nobody knows anything about Shang-Chi. Even me, even I don't know that.
You know what you could do? You could just, to like really mix it up, you could get somebody who knows a lot about Shang-Chi, and then it would be...
Oh, well, it doesn't matter. Curtis will have gotten there by the time that we talk about it. He'll have read the entire lexicon of Shang-Chi, whatever, such a nerd. I can say that because he's one of my best friends and he knows.
With all the love.
Thank you guys for listening. I'll be back next week. Amanda, will you be back in 2 weeks or do I have to figure something out? You'll be back in time, right?
I mean, should all go well with international travel is all I have to say about that, because we'll see if I actually do get back. But my plan is to be back by September 12th. September 12th is when I'm coming back.
Okay. So we should be good. You should be back in 2 weeks.
We should be good. I should be good.
And you can tell us all about your trip and whether or not you saw Shang-Chi in Boston or New York.
Yeah. We'll see.
Awesome.
It'll be good.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next one.
Stay safe, everybody. Wash your hands and be kind to one another.
Keep wearing a mask, damn it. Follow the Thunderquack Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook by searching the Thunderquack Podcast. You can support us in 3 ways. First, by heading to the podcast service of your choice and leaving a rating and review. Second, by going to store.thunderquack.com to pick up some merch from your favorite podcasts. And last but not least, by heading to patreon.com/thunderquack to kick in with your monthly pledge of support and get cool rewards like early access and extended episodes. The Thunderquack Podcast is the official podcast of thunderquack.com. Head to thunderquack.com to discover more great podcasts.